Do your knees hurt when you get up? Do you have trouble closing your hands when you wake up? Do you feel as if your body rusts more with every passing year? I experienced it too. Every morning was the same. I would stretch my arms, and my fingers wouldn't fully respond. I felt my knuckles stiff, as if they had hardened overnight. My knees took several minutes to start up, and even walking to the kitchen became a small odyssey. I thought it was part of aging, that there was no turning back, that pain was something I would have to learn to live with. I tried everything, medications, ointments, massages, and nothing gave me lasting relief. Until by accident, I discovered something the doctors hadn't told me. Something natural, simple, and based on real science. It's about 3 plant-based proteins that, according to various studies, can help reduce joint inflammation and gradually relieve pain without side effects. And no, they're not expensive supplements or miracle pills. They are compounds you might have closer than you imagine, but have been ignored for years by conventional treatments. In this video, I'm going to tell you what those 3 proteins are, how they act in the body, and how you can easily incorporate them into your daily diet. If you live with chronic pain, stiffness, or constant inflammation, this can change your quality of life just as it changed mine. But before continuing, I'd like to know something about you. How old are you, and from which country are you watching me? Leave it in the comments. I'd love to get to know you a little better, because even though we're far apart, we share the same quest: to live with dignity, mobility, and less pain. Hey, as time passes, it's normal for many body functions to begin changing, but there is a very silent, almost invisible part that wears down day by day without us noticing: the joints. Inside each joint, whether in the knees, shoulders, hips, or hands, there is a kind of cushion called cartilage. This cartilage acts as a shock absorber. It prevents the bones from rubbing against each other when we move. It is flexible, soft, and fulfills a vital function, so we can walk, bend down, twist, climb stairs, or simply stand. But over the years, that cartilage wears out. It's like a sponge that, over time, loses water and elasticity. It becomes thinner, less resistant, and when the cartilage gets damaged or shrinks too much, the bones start rubbing against each other. That friction causes pain, stiffness, and sometimes inflammation. The production of collagen, a fundamental protein that keeps our joints, ligaments, and tendons in good condition, also decreases. With less collagen, everything becomes more fragile and less flexible. And that, combined with natural wear, creates the perfect setting for pain. But it's not all the year's fault. There is a second enemy, much more silent, but just as harmful: our lifestyle. Many of us, upon reaching a certain age, become more sedentary. We spend more time sitting, move less, and stop exercising the muscles that support the joints. This lack of movement makes the joints rust, lose lubrication, and become more prone to pain. Then there's diet. Ultra-processed products, refined flours, excess sugars, and poor quality fats cause something we don't feel immediately, but that affects us deeply: silent chronic inflammation. This inflammation is invisible. There's no fever, no obvious redness, but it happens inside our bodies every day. It's a kind of slow fire that damages tissues, including joints. Gradually, that inflammation wears down, weakens, and hurts. Sometimes we don't even know why we feel heavy, sore, or slow. And the root lies there, in the internal inflammation we've accumulated over the years. The good news is that just as certain foods can make us sick without us noticing, others can help us heal. What we eat has a direct impact on how we feel. There are foods and natural substances that reduce inflammation from the inside out, gradually but consistently. And one of them, one that very few doctors mention but has been used for centuries, is precisely the oil I want to talk about later. So, it's not just about age, it's about how we get to that age, and about the decisions we can still make to stop wear, reduce inflammation, and feel freer in our own bodies again. Joint pain is not an inevitable sentence. It's a message from the body, and also an opportunity to listen to what it needs. And many times, what it needs is much more natural and simple than we think. Chang. Common solutions that don't solve. Before I tell you about the oil that transformed how I move, I want to talk about something I discovered later that reinforced my recovery even more. The importance of the proteins we consume, especially those from the plant world. For many years, I associated the word protein with meat, eggs, milk. I grew up with the idea that animal proteins were the most complete and necessary. And it's true they are rich in amino acids, but they also bring some burdens that over time can take a toll, especially if you have joint pain or chronic inflammation. First, let's understand one thing. Protein is the material your body uses to repair, rebuild, and maintain its tissues. Every time your joints suffer wear, protein helps regenerate. But not all proteins help in the same way. Some can come with compounds that irritate more than heal. Animal proteins, for example, often come with saturated fats, and above all, with a higher acidic load. This means their digestion produces more waste that the body must neutralize. And guess how it does that? With minerals taken from your bones. Also, this type of digestion can increase inflammation in sensitive people, which ends up affecting exactly where it hurts the most: knees, hips, shoulders. On the contrary, plant proteins have a gentler profile for the aging body. They are lighter for the digestive system, don't generate that acidic load, and come accompanied by elements that help, not complicate: fiber, antioxidants, B vitamins, magnesium, plant-based iron. A good example is the lentil, rich in protein, easy to digest, and full of minerals that help the nervous system and muscles. The same goes for chickpeas, quinoa, soy, nuts, chia seeds, or hemp seeds. All these plant sources provide the building blocks your tissues need to stay strong, but without adding weight to the body or worsening inflammatory processes. Also, many of these plant proteins contain phytochemicals with anti-inflammatory properties, such as flavonoids, saponins, or lignans. These compounds not only nourish, but also help reduce inflammation from within, naturally, without the need for medications that upset the stomach or harm the liver. I'm not a nutritionist, but I am a person who has learned to listen to her body. And when I started reducing processed meats, cold cuts, heavy dairy, and instead included more legumes, seeds, and protein-rich vegetables, I felt a profound change. Less heaviness, less bloating, and above all, less pain. What we eat can be medicine or poison, depending on how we choose it. And in the case of joints, every gram counts. So if you're looking for ways to ease your pain, don't just think about pills or ointments. Also look at your plate. Sometimes relief begins with what you decide to put on your food. Kank. Protein. 1. Lentils. Rich in lysine, iron, and magnesium. For years, when I heard about proteins, I thought only of meat, chicken, or fish. I believed legumes were more of a side dish than a real source of strength. But it was when I learned more about my body and how certain foods influence joints and muscles that I understood the true power of something as simple as a plate of lentils. Lentils are not only economical and easy to find, they are a real nutritional treasure, especially for those of us over 60 or 70 who want to maintain our bones, joints, and muscles in good condition. One of the most important nutrients they contain is lysine, an essential amino acid. Lysine is key in collagen formation, and collagen is not just a buzzword. It is the tissue that holds our joints, tendons, skin, and cartilage together. Without collagen, the body literally starts to loosen, losing its structure and support. And if you don't consume enough lysine through food, your body cannot produce the collagen it needs. But that's not the end of the value of lentils. They are also a great source of plant-based iron. Iron helps oxygenate the muscles, bringing energy to every corner of the body. When we lack iron, we feel more tired, weaker, and recover more slowly after any physical effort, even a simple walk. Additionally, they provide a good dose of magnesium, an essential mineral for muscle relaxation and nerve function. Magnesium helps prevent cramps, reduce muscle tension, and also improve sleep quality, which directly affects joint recovery. Now, it is true that many older people get gas or discomfort when eating lentils, but it doesn't have to be that way. The key lies in how you prepare them. First, soak them for at least 8 hours. This reduces anti-nutrients and makes them easier to digest. Second, cook them with digestive herbs like cumin, bay leaf, or fennel. This helps avoid gas. Third, avoid combining them with lots of fats or cold cuts if you have slow digestion. A mild stew with vegetables is more beneficial and easier to assimilate. Including lentils in your diet at least 2 or 3 times a week can help you more than you imagine. You are nourishing your muscles, giving your body tools to repair tissues, and at the same time, caring for your digestive system and cardiovascular health. When one reaches a certain age, every meal can be medicine or a burden, and something as simple as a well-prepared plate of lentils can make a big difference in how you feel when you get up, walk, or lie down each day. Now, sometimes the most powerful things don't come from a bottle or a pill, but from a memory or from a plate. That happened to Maria. Maria is 78 years old, lives in a small town near the sea, and has always been an active woman. For years she tended her garden, walked to the market every day, and cooked for her grandchildren every weekend. But just over a year ago, things started to change. First, she noticed it was hard to bend down to tie her shoelaces. Then, that walks left her knees burning, and within months, climbing stairs became a punishment. The doctor told her it was part of aging. He prescribed painkillers and anti-inflammatories, but warned her she couldn't take them every day. Use only when necessary, he said. But for Maria, every day was necessary. Then an old friend she hadn't seen in a long time visited her, and seeing her move with difficulty, asked if she still cooked legumes like before. Maria said not so much, that she no longer had time, strength, or desire. The friend smiled and said something that sounded like a joke but wasn't. Start with lentils, once a week at least. You'll see. Maria laughed. Lentils? That was all. It seemed ridiculous that something so simple could have any effect on her body. But since she had tried everything, she thought, what do I lose? The next Sunday, she cooked her usual lentil stew, with carrot, garlic, onion, and a touch of bay leaf. She did it almost like a ritual, and over the following weeks, she repeated the process. Once, twice, 3 times. She didn't notice immediate changes, but by the 4th week, something began to change. She slept better. She got up without that morning stiffness that forced her to sit for 15 minutes before she could walk. The knees still hurt, yes, but it was different. The pain no longer dominated her day. She had more energy, felt lighter, walked more freely. When she returned to the doctor, he asked what she had done. Maria smiled and said, I went back to my pot. Lentils, like many legumes, are full of natural anti-inflammatory properties. They contain magnesium, zinc, iron, and above all, plant proteins that strengthen muscles and help the body regenerate. They are also rich in fiber, which improves digestion and reduces general inflammation. What's interesting is not just the food, but what it represents. Returning to the natural, the simple, what grandmothers knew before supplements and complicated labels arrived. Maria still eats lentils every week, sometimes with rice, sometimes with spinach, sometimes alone. She says each plate reminds her that the body has memory, and if you feed it well, it can walk with you again, without complaining so much. And no, it wasn't just because of the lentils. It was because of her consistency, her decision to try something small and stick with it over time. Because sometimes, big changes don't start with a shout, but with a spoon. So, chia seeds, small but powerful for your joints and brain. Sometimes the most effective remedies don't come in boxes or have difficult names. Sometimes they come in small jars, look modest, and don't even smell like medicine. Such are chia seeds, small, black, discreet, but with immense power many still don't know. I discovered chia when I started looking for natural foods that could help my joints without the side effects of medications. And what I found surprised me. These seeds, often overlooked on supermarket shelves, are an extraordinary source of omega-3, complete protein, calcium, fiber, and antioxidants. All that in just 1 tablespoon. Omega-3 is one of the most important fats for reducing inflammation in the body, and chia contains it in a highly usable plant form. They don't just help the joints, they also care for the heart and brain. Yes, the brain. Because omega-3 also protects memory, improves mood, and can prevent cognitive decline. At my age, that's worth gold. Also, chia seeds have a high calcium content, ideal for keeping bones strong, and a notable amount of complete plant protein, meaning they have all the essential amino acids. Not many plants can say that. They also provide fiber, which improves intestinal transit and helps us feel lighter and more satisfied. Now, not everything is simply throw them in and done. If not prepared correctly, they can cause digestive discomfort. Why? Because chia, when in contact with liquids, forms a kind of gel, a soluble fiber that expands. If consumed dry or without proper hydration, it can cause gas, abdominal bloating, or even difficulty digesting. How to prepare them correctly? Very easy. Take 1 or 2 tablespoons of chia seeds and let them rest in water for at least 20 minutes, or ideally overnight. When you wake up, you'll see a kind of gelatin has formed. That texture is exactly what you need for your body to digest them well. You can also mix them with plant milk, natural yogurt, or even fruit smoothies. I like to add a tablespoon to a bowl of yogurt with banana and a bit of cinnamon. It's delicious, filling, and above all, healthy for joints, bones, and brain. You can also mix them with soups or creams, as they don't alter the taste much but add a lot of nutritional value. Since I incorporated chia into my daily diet, I've noticed improvements in digestion, energy, and mental clarity. I'm not saying it's a magic solution, but I can tell you it's a powerful ally, especially if you're looking for natural alternatives that care for your body from the inside out. Chia seeds are an example of how nature, quietly, can offer us exactly what we need. And sometimes the key isn't trying new things all the time, but returning to the simple and consistent. Jag. Next protein. Tofu or tempeh, fermented, protein-rich, and balanced. For years, I heard about tofu as if it was something distant, from other cultures, or even flavorless. I admit I looked at it with distrust. But when joint pain started limiting me more and more, and I began seeking options that truly helped my body instead of burdening it, I found this fermented wonder. Tofu and its more robust cousin, tempeh, come from soybeans, a legume that, when properly fermented, becomes an extraordinary protein source. But beyond protein, they contain something that caught my attention immediately: isoflavones. These natural substances have a structure similar to certain human hormones and have been shown in many studies to protect bones, reduce inflammation, and help maintain muscle mass in older adults. What's interesting is that because they are fermented, as in the case of tempeh, they not only become more nutritious, but also easier to digest. And this, for those of us who no longer have the digestive system we had in our 40s, is key. No bloating, gas, or discomfort. On the contrary, they feel light, and when well prepared, can even be comforting. In my case, I started with tofu because it was the most accessible. I learned to cut it into small cubes, saute it gently with a bit of turmeric and olive oil, and add it to my soups and stews. It absorbs the flavor around it, so it never tastes the same. Sometimes it takes the taste of vegetable broth, other times of a homemade sofrito with garlic and onion. Tempeh, on the other hand, has a firmer texture and stronger flavor. I discovered it a bit later, and especially liked it in more substantial dishes. I crumbled it and used it instead of ground meat for some stewed lentils, or cut it into strips and steamed it with natural tomato sauce. The key is not to be afraid. A little curiosity in the kitchen can open the door to new flavors that, besides, take care of your body. For those already at a certain age and needing meals that are gentle but nutrient-dense, this duo is ideal. They not only provide quality protein, but also ease digestive load, something fundamental for those who want to feel lighter and more active without giving up what the body needs. What surprised me most is that after a few weeks of adding them to my meals, I noticed a difference. Not only in digestion, but also in how I felt upon waking. Less stiffness in my hands, more agility moving, less pain when walking. Maybe they're not foods we grew up with, but that doesn't make them any less valuable. Sometimes, opening up to something new doesn't just change your diet. It can also change how you age. Tag. One of the things I'm most asked since sharing what I learned about inflammation and joints is, how can I incorporate all these foods into my diet without complicating my life? The answer is simpler than it seems. You don't need to be a chef, spend a fortune, or cook for hours. You just need consistency, a little organization, and the desire to feel better. First, something important. You don't have to eat everything at the same time, neither today nor tomorrow. In fact, starting with too many changes can be overwhelming and make you give up too soon. That's why my advice is this. Start with just one, and listen to yourself. Observe how it makes you feel, how your body sleeps, how your joints wake up. The body speaks. We just have to learn to listen again. Here I share a weekly menu idea designed for older people who live alone or with limited mobility. All ingredients are easy to find, economical, and most importantly, natural anti-inflammatories. Monday to Friday. Breakfast. Cooked oatmeal with a teaspoon of turmeric powder and a pinch of black pepper boosts its effect. Half a banana or chopped apple on top. A fresh ginger infusion with lemon. Lunch. Monday and Thursday. Lentils with vegetables, carrot, onion, spinach. Tuesday and Friday. Brown rice with steamed broccoli and extra virgin olive oil. Wednesday. Vegetable soup with turmeric and a touch of coconut oil. Dinner. Spinach omelette with a drizzle of avocado oil. Slice of whole grain bread with hummus. A glass of warm plant milk with turmeric, the famous golden milk. Weekend. Saturday. Breakfast. Natural or plant-based yogurt with walnuts and a touch of honey. Lunch. Oven roasted chicken with rosemary, accompanied by pumpkin puree with turmeric. Dinner. Warm chickpea salad with tomato, cucumber and flaxseed oil. Sunday. Breakfast. Rye bread with avocado and chia seeds. Lunch. Turmeric soup with vegetables and brown rice. Dinner. Roasted banana with cinnamon and a ginger infusion. You don't need to follow this exactly. You can swap vegetables, use the spices you have, even prepare double portions and freeze to avoid cooking every day. The key is to rotate anti-inflammatory foods: turmeric, ginger, garlic, olive oil, seeds, fresh vegetables. Each acts differently in your body, and together they help maintain the natural balance of your joints and immune system. Remember, less processed products, more living foods. You don't have to eliminate everything all at once. Just replace, intentionally. White bread for whole grain, butter for olive oil, soda for an infusion, step by step. Taking care of yourself doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. You just need a clear intention, to feel better without always depending on a pill. Because your body can heal, but it needs your help to do so. Talking about plant proteins in old age usually raises many doubts. Over the years, we've heard phrases like, "That doesn't fill you up," "That's only for young people," or "I can't eat that because it upsets me." Today, I want to dismantle those myths one by one, because the truth is that plant proteins are not only healthy, but can be adapted to any need, even in old age. Myth 1. I can't eat legumes because I don't have teeth anymore. This is one of the most common. Many older people have lost teeth or use dentures and believe they can't eat foods like lentils, chickpeas or beans. But the reality is they can. You just have to know how to prepare them. Legumes can easily be turned into purees, creams, or soft soups that don't require chewing. A lentil cream with cooked vegetables, for example, is nutritious, easy to digest, and perfect for someone with dental problems. They can even be blended with a bit of olive oil to make a soft paste that can be spread on soft bread or rice crackers. It's not about eliminating foods, but adapting them to your reality. Myth 2. Legumes give me gas. Yes, it's true some people experience digestive discomfort when consuming legumes, but that doesn't mean you should eliminate them. In most cases, the problem isn't the food itself, but how it's cooked. A key technique is soaking them for at least 8 hours before cooking. This helps remove sugars that cause fermentation in the intestine. You can also cook them with carminative herbs like cumin, bay leaf, or fennel, which help reduce gas. Another option is to start with small portions and gradually increase the amount so your body gets used to it. Your body can learn to digest them. It just needs time and proper preparation. Myth 3. I'm diabetic, so I can't eat carbohydrates like lentils or chickpeas. This belief is outdated. Legumes do have carbohydrates, yes, but they are slow absorbing. That means they don't spike blood sugar abruptly as white bread, pastries, or refined rice do. Also, they contain fiber, which helps keep glucose levels stable. In fact, many current medical guidelines recommend regular legume consumption in people with type 2 diabetes because they help improve insulin sensitivity and control appetite. So if you have diabetes, not only can you eat plant proteins, but they could even be more beneficial than other traditional sources. Myth 4. All plant proteins contain soy, and I'm allergic. Not all plant protein sources contain soy. There are many soy-free alternatives that are equally effective. Lentils, chickpeas, peas, beans, chia seeds, quinoa, amaranth, hemp, and many more. Also, nowadays there are plant-based protein powders made from rice, pea, or even pumpkin that contain no trace of soy. The key is to look and vary. Maybe you've been told that pain is part of aging, that it's normal to wake up with stiff joints, walk slower, avoid certain activities. Maybe even you believed it yourself for years, as I did. But today, I want to tell you something I wish someone had told me earlier. It doesn't have to be that way. It's not about denying the passage of time or seeking magic formulas. It's about listening to the body and giving it what it needs. And many times, what it needs isn't at the pharmacy, nor does it come in a box with an unpronounceable name. Sometimes it's something as simple as a natural oil, a plant, a habit we forgot. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. You just need to take a small but conscious step. Maybe it's using that oil for the first time, doing a massage at night, walking a little more in the sun, or stopping thinking that pain is your forever companion. Sometimes that first step is simply believing you can be better. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a lab or diplomas hanging on the wall, but I have something worth gold, the experience of having lived pain and having found relief. If this video helps even one person suffer less tomorrow than today, then it will have been worth it. The body speaks to us, with stiffness, with fatigue, with soft signals we often ignore. But sometimes no one has taught us to listen. Today, I want you to start listening, and above all, to respond with kindness, intention, and care. Thank you for staying until the end. If any of this made sense to you, inspired you to try something new, or look at your health differently, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs it. Sometimes, a small piece of shared information can change another person's life. And now I ask you, which of these 3 natural proteins are you willing to try first? Tell me in the comments. I'll love reading your answers and knowing we're on this path together. Because no matter our age, there's always something we can improve. There is always hope.